The cliffhanger last time was Jack falling off a cliff, and this episode begins with shots of crows, which in Western culture are symbols of death. But alas, Jack manages to cheat death yet again. Jack's guilt over the slaughtering he's done triggers his hallucinations yet again, and this time the crows call him a killer and a murderer, which, by the way, a group of crows is called a murder. But I think this scene is particularly interesting if you view the crows with an Eastern mythology in mind. In Japan and other Asian countries, crows are a symbol of divine intervention and are messengers of the gods. With that view in mind, to Jack it's as if the gods themselves are labeling him a killer. Jack's mad mind may have done him a favor this time, however, as the hallucination reinforces that killing should only be a last resort. Despite Jack having perceived the daughters of Aku as if they actually were Aku, showcased by the vision that frightened Jack back into consciousness at the start of the episode, Jack makes the choice to keep Ashi alive. He is no longer outnumbered and can immobilize her without killing her, and thus Jack makes the choice to not be a killer. Speaking of that immobilization, the chain play was cool, but choreographically it was messy and didn't make much sense. The chain definitely changed lengths multiple times throughout this scene. Also, the sickle end is here, so it should be there, but then it's right next to Ashi, and then it's straight up gone, and then it's apparently up on the tree branch? So the concept was cool, but the execution was rather sloppy. Action is not the focus of this episode though. This is the start of Ashi's character arc. I was hesitant about how Ashi will overcome her indoctrination, but so far it's been handled very well. I have to say, Ashi's goofy anger ends up feeling like comic relief amidst the bleakness, and her unbridled rage while powerless reminds me a whole lot of a certain green character from another show. It makes sense in the context of the story. Ashi has been raised for a single purpose, so when she's incapable of fighting, she comes off as ridiculous and childlike. Mentally, she essentially is still a child due to lacking an education about the world. All she has been taught are simple statements about Aku and Jack presented as absolute fact. Ashi's behavior while relying on these facts demonstrates how weak such a system of indoctrination actually is. Without her deadly assassin techniques, Ashi is but a child lashing out. The daughters of Aku are meant to either succeed or die, and Ashi staying alive is what led her to the first moment of reconsidering all she's ever known. I really appreciate how, until that final scene, Ashi tries to resist and destroy Jack at every possible chance. Even the acupuncture scene, what felt like might be a moment of bonding, wasn't. Ashi maintained her death stare the entire time. By the way, if falling objects pierced your skin, Jack, it might not be a good idea to look up with your eyes wide open. In this episode, Jack understood that Ashi is horribly indoctrinated. He even compared her to a programmed robot, but that's not the reason he wants to try and make her see the light. Jack sees Ashi's existence as his responsibility. Had he succeeded in slaying Aku decades ago, Ashi would not even exist. Jack sees Ashi as a consequence of his failure, and that's why he protects her even while his own life is at risk. The journey through the inside of the monolithic creature was visually amazing. Being inside a huge creature isn't a novel concept, but treating the internal structures with such reverence when it comes to design certainly is. There were so many beautiful backgrounds, and I've never seen neurons or blood vessels appear so majestic and grand. Then there was a whole ecosystem of bioluminescent and transparent creatures inspired by actual deep ocean animals living within the giant beasts, which was an additional touch of wonder. In the end, what convinces Ashi to halt her mission is a contradiction to her indoctrination in the form of a ladybug. Aku is supposed to be the most wonderful being, essentially a loving god, responsible for everything good.
Aku! My master! This fool knows not of your greatness, your kindness, your understanding!
Yet when Ashi first saw a ladybug and was fascinated by the insect, it was labeled as a distraction, and more importantly,
not part of Aku's order.
A beautiful, harmless creature that evokes wonder in Ashi is not part of Aku's order, and must be crushed. This is not in line with Aku being a merciless being of eternal love. Sure, if Jack uncharacteristically crushed the ladybug, Ashi would probably continue to wield her sickle, but it's not directly Jack's actions that make her relent. Being given an alternate perspective, along with remembering a contradiction from her childhood, that is what makes Ashi reconsider her mission, and by extension her entire existence. This does not mean Ashi believes Jack or trusts him, it's just the first step for her in questioning what she has been taught. Ashi now has skepticism of her upbringing and wants to discover the truth about the world with her own eyes. Ashi is saved by a mixture of childlike wonder and adult rationality. I find that really cool. The ladybug plot device could easily have ended up being hokey or cheesy. In less skilled hands, it definitely would have. Here, it feels right. I thought it was well earned and it fit cleanly in the narrative. It's not an easy task to make something potentially silly feel grandiose, but kudos, Samurai Jack, you've done it again. Episode 95 is another gem. I really liked it. I'm really looking forward to how Ashi's character development is treated in future episodes. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments, and thanks for watching my review.